and we're filling our first pit with a combination of archers and infantry. So to actually see them finally manifest on site after all the weeks of design and all the preparatory work, it's pretty exciting.
In the spring of 1974, a group of farmers in central China struck the earth with their shovels, hoping to find water. They didn't find a well. Instead, they cracked open a vault that had been sealed for 2 millennia. They had unwittingly trespassed into the private sanctuary of a god king. What they found has since become the 8th wonder of the world, the Terracotta Army. But for 50 years, the world has focused on the soldiers. We have marveled at their clay faces, their bronze weapons, and their silent vigil. But we have been looking at the wrong thing. The soldiers are merely the perimeter guard. National Geographic explorer and engineer Albert Lin has utilized advanced, non-invasive technology to peer through the dirt and see what the naked eye cannot. His findings confirm that the Terracotta Army is not the main event. It is simply the gatekeeper to a sprawling, subterranean metropolis designed to defy death itself. And at the center of this ghost city lies a tomb that no living human has dared to open. To understand the terror of what lies beneath, we must first understand the obsession that built it. Standing in the excavation pits, surrounded by 8,000 life-sized figures, the scale of the endeavor becomes physically overwhelming. Albert Lin, granted rare access to these protected grounds, described the sensation not as visiting a museum, but as stepping into a vacuum of time. The silence here is heavy. It carries the weight of the 700,000 laborers who were conscripted to build it. The forensic detail of the army is unnerving. These are not mass-produced statues, they are portraits. Each head was hand-sculpted with unique facial features, distinctive cheekbones, varying hairstyles representing different tribal affiliations, and expressions ranging from stoic determination to quiet fear. It is believed that these were modeled after real men, the actual soldiers of the Qin dynasty, whose souls were ritually bound to the clay to serve their master in the afterlife. The engineering behind them was centuries ahead of its time. The torsos were hollow-molded for stability, while the legs were built from solid, coiled clay to support the weight. But the true miracle was the weaponry. When archaeologists brushed away the soil, they found the warriors holding real bronze swords, crossbow triggers, and spearheads. Despite being buried in damp earth for 2,000 years, the blades were still sharp enough to split a hair. Chemical analysis revealed they were coated in a layer of chromium oxide, a rust-proof technology that Western science wouldn't invent until the 1930s. But this magnificence is a tragedy in disguise. When these warriors were first dug up, they weren't the drab gray we see today. They were painted in vivid, flashing colors: Chinese purple, cinnabar red, jade green. But the moment the ancient lacquer touched the modern atmosphere, it oxidized, peeling away and turning to dust in a matter of seconds. This phenomenon, known as oxidative shock, is the first warning the tomb gives us: do not enter. Everything preserved in the dark will be destroyed by the light. The mastermind behind this complex, Qin Shi Huang, was the first man to unify China. He was a visionary, a tyrant, and a man consumed by a singular, crushing phobia: the fear of death. He survived multiple assassination attempts, which drove him into a state of deep paranoia. He traveled through secret tunnels between his palaces so that no one would know where he slept. He sent fleets of ships into the eastern seas to search for the elixir of life. When those failed, he turned his vast resources towards the only certainty he had left: if he could not live forever in this world, he would conquer the next. This was not just a burial. It was a continuation of power. Albert Lin's geophysical data suggests the mausoleum complex covers nearly 38 square miles. It is an underground mirror of the Qin Empire. There are stables filled with skeletal horses to pull his chariots. There are pits containing clay acrobats and strongmen to entertain him. There are offices for his bureaucrats to manage the administration of hell. And surrounding it all, the Terracotta army stands in battle formation, infantry in the front, archers on the flanks, generals in the rear, permanently facing east toward the conquered kingdoms, ready to crush any rebellion that might rise in the afterlife. For years, the sheer density of the Earth baffled researchers. How did this structure survive the seismic shifts of 2 millennia? The answer lies in the dirt itself. The builders utilized a technique called rammed earth. Layers of soil were mixed with binding agents and pounded repeatedly until the ground became as hard as concrete. This created a watertight, airtight seal around the subterranean chambers. It was an engineering marvel, but it was built on blood. Historical texts state that to preserve the secrecy of the tomb's entrance and its internal defenses, the emperor ordered the execution of the artisans and laborers who finished the final stage. The gates were closed, trapping the living with the dead. The secret of the tomb's layout died with them. Or so the emperor hoped. Today, technology like muon tomography, which uses cosmic rays to scan through solid rock, allows us to bypass the need for gates. We can see inside without lifting a shovel, and what the scans reveal at the heart of the complex confirms the darkest legends of ancient history. At the center of the complex stands the burial mound of Qin Shi Huang himself. It is a man-made mountain, 76 meters tall. Beneath it lies the emperor's actual coffin, floating in a sea of legends. The ancient historian Sima Qian, writing a century after the emperor's death, described the inner chamber as a fantastical cosmos. The ceiling was studded with pearls to represent the stars and constellations. The floor was a map of the empire. But the most terrifying detail was the water. Sima Qian wrote that the emperor's tomb contained rivers and seas of quicksilver, mechanically pumped to flow for eternity, simulating the Yangtze and Yellow rivers. For decades, modern archaeologists dismissed this as a myth, an exaggeration of imperial propaganda. They were wrong. Recent soil probes inserted deep into the burial mound have returned chilling results. The samples revealed mercury levels up to 100 times higher than the surrounding soil. This is not natural contamination. This is industrial-scale geoengineering. Mercury was viewed by ancient alchemists as a substance of immortality, but in reality, it is a volatile neurotoxin. In a confined space, mercury vapor is lethal. The emperor is literally resting in a pool of poison. This acts as a final biological failsafe. Any grave robber or archaeologist who breaches the seal would be greeted with a blast of toxic gas capable of shutting down their nervous system and corroding their lungs. If the poison doesn't kill you, the machinery might. Sima Qian's records also speak of mechanical defenses rigged within the corridors. He described crossbows, tension-loaded and connected to tripwires, calibrated to fire automatically at any intruder. While the wood of these bows may have rotted away, the bronze trigger mechanisms, coated in that same miraculous chromium anti-rust agent found on the soldiers' swords, could potentially still function. The tension of the mechanisms might be gone, or they might be rusted shut, but the psychological threat remains. The tomb was designed to be a death trap. This creates a profound dilemma for modern science. We possess the curiosity to open the tomb, but do we have the right? Albert Lin's investigation concludes not with a physical breakthrough, but with a realization of limits. The decision to leave the tomb sealed is not just about fear of mercury or booby traps, it is about preservation. We have seen what happens when the seal is broken. The paint on the terracotta warriors evaporated in seconds. If we open the central chamber now, the influx of oxygen would likely disintegrate the silk, the paintings, in the fragile wooden structures inside the emperor's palace. The pearls in the ceiling, the map on the floor, the body of the emperor himself, all could turn to dust before our eyes. Until we have the technology to excavate without atmosphere, to stabilize the mercury, and to neutralize the decay, the emperor will remain where he has always been, hidden in the dark. Qin Shi Huang spent his entire life seeking immortality. In a strange, twisted irony, he achieved it. His army still stands, his rivers of silver still flow, and his empire of the dead remains the one fortress we cannot conquer.